Hi, great soulmate, welcome back to my channel. If you are a new subscriber, you are highly welcome, and if you are a returning viewer, thank you for always. I hope you get value for all you learn here on my channel. Today we are going to be learning how to make this trendy gown with gathered sides, and if you are interested, please subscribe to my channel and click on the like button, and let's get started. So here is my pattern paper, and I've ruled out the starting lines. So we'll be imputing our vertical measurement first, and I'll be starting with my bust point, then my under bust and my waistline. So from the waistline, the distance between the waistline to the hip line I'm working with is 8 inches. Measure yours on your client's body and impute it. So I'll rule everything out like so for accuracy. And also the whole of the paper is my gown length, so you can measure out your gown length also, but the whole of this pattern paper is the length of the gown I'm making use of, and I've labeled them respectively also. The next thing for me to do is to divide my shoulder into 2 and impute it. Then also for the neckline, I made use of 4 inches, and for the neck depth I also made use of 4 inches. It is a basic neckline for the roundish part of the design. We're still going to work on some other necklines as the video goes by. So I'll use my curve ruler to connect it. Then on the shoulder point, I'll come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope, and I'll connect it into the neck point like so. Then I'll divide my bust by 6, and I'll add 1.5 inches to it to get my armhole length. To get an accurate point, I'll re-impute my shoulder measurement on those points, then I'll connect everything like so. So I made use of a pen so that the lines will not be too obvious, because we are still going to be changing the armhole later. So now I'll divide my bust by 4 and impute it to get the armhole curve. Then also to get the midpoint of the armhole, I'll divide my armhole length by 2 and come in by ½ inch like so. If you feel this part is too fast for you, I'll drop a link on where you can learn how to draft a basic bodice so that you get to understand it better. So our armhole has been drafted already. Now to get my dart point, I'll divide my nipple to nipple measurement into 2 because this pattern is on fold. Then I'll impute it on all the vertical length like so. Aside from the gown length, I did not impute it on the gown length because we do not need that. Now for the dart intake, because this is not really a bustier, so we'll not be doing any calculation. This person is a slim person, so I made use of 2 inches and I shared it 1 inch on both sides. But if you are working with a busty person, you can do 2.5 inches or 3 inches as the case may be. So now I'll connect them like so. So at the hip area, I'm just going to form a waist dart as you can see, but for the under bust and waistline, I will take in my under bust dart like so as you can see. Then at the bust point, before creating my bustier at the bust point, I'll come down by 0.75 inch. If the person is a busty person, you can do 1 inch. This will help you prevent a pointy edge at the bust area. It will not make the bust area to be too pointy. So I'll use my curve ruler to connect them. Look at the way I placed the curve ruler, and all these parts will be cut off later. Now we are going to be tightening our yoke. If you check the video well, you notice that it has a yoke. So I'll divide my shoulder slope into 2 like so. Then from this my dart point, I'll come up by 0.75 inches. This way to prevent your bustier from being too sharp. Then using my ruler, I'll connect it like so into the shoulder slope that has been divided already. Now you might be wondering the reason why we want to take a dart at the yoke area is to help to eliminate any bulge by the time you fix your yoke, because the material you're making use of is a stretchy and soft material, especially when it's chantilly. So you take a dart of either 1 inch or 1.5 inches. I think I made use of 1.5 inches in this video. So you divide 1.5 inches into 2 and share it on both sides of the line. As you can see, make sure it is even. 0.75 is 0.75 on each side. Then you connect it into your overbust line like so. So now before we take our overbust dart, we have to know the point where the yoke will start from, as in the part that will be demarcated for the yoke and the part that will be for the bustier. So it's also called neckline. You can call it your yoke neckline. So what you do is to measure the distance from your bust point to your under bust point. when you measure that distance, you will now add 1 inch to it, or you add ½ inch to it. If you do not want to use that, because sometimes when you follow this method, it can still reveal cleavage, you can also measure the neckline on your client's body, or you make use of a standard measurement of 7 inches from this starting line. I made use of 7 inches in this for this video. I made use of 7 inches, so you can do 7 inches, 6.5 or 6 inches. So that point will help you to know where you want the yoke to start from. So once you've marked any of this method I explained, then you rule it out. So it's on that point we will now take our overbust dart. Overbust dart is very important because this is what will help the bustier to sit well on the upper part of your cup. So now for the overbust dart, I'll make use of 1.5 inches. Do you remember that first line we used when we divided our shoulder slope into 2? So it's that first line that will guide us to share the dart into 2. So if you are using 1.5 inches, you will give 0.75 to one side and 0.75 to the other side, and using your curve ruler, you connect it into your bust point like so. So this is your overbust dart. It doesn't disturb your yoke dart. They are different darts on their own. I have a very detailed video that explains more about corset, so I'll drop a link on that so you can watch it and understand better. Also, I reblended my dart to check if there's any part that is longer than the other, and I reconnected it like so. So now at the center, if you notice, there is an opening. So for the opening, I made use of 1 inch. By the time you open it, it will be 2 inches. So from your center front, you come in by 1 inch. And to know how deep that design will go, I made use of 1.75 inches. That's what I was trying to show you here in the video. So the depth is 1.75 inches. It was not too deep, and I got a beautiful result. So if you have watched to this level, please do not forget to subscribe to my channel. So I'm just trying to highlight the lines as shown. So all the darts that was taken, we are going to be returning them back to avoid shortage. So this was just me extending the line so I can have a guide on where to place my darts on. So I took the dart at the yoke area and I returned it like so. And I also took the other darts also. So you measure out whatever you got and you return it. The point you'll be returning it is around your armhole area, because in that way we are going to be plotting a new armhole. So watch closely and check the things I took. You do not need to take your overbust dart. You do not need that. It won't affect anything and it's not going to cause any shortage. But aside from that, every other dart can be taken. So that's what I was just trying to highlight here. And now we are going to plot a new armhole. We are going to be closing the dart at the yoke later. So that way we've created our new armhole, and you'll notice that I cancelled the old one because we are going to make use of this new one. So now we are going to be closing the yoke because we have to reblend the lines. By the time you close your yoke, there are times that the shoulder slope might have shifted, so you just have to reblend the shoulder slope so that everything will be perfect. So that's what I was just trying to do here. I'll close my yoke. I only close the yoke dart first for now. So that's what I did here, and I reblended it. And you will notice that by the time I closed the yoke dart, there was a shift at the shoulder slope, so I reblended it with my ruler, and I used my masking tape to seal it like so. And you will notice that the overbust dart line blended well, so I was just trying to recheck it and reconnect everything like so. So now there's this neckline at the yoke area. It had a continuation of rope, but before that rope there was a small round neckline around that area. So I noticed that mine was a bit small. Like I felt I should have extended the line to almost the end of that round neckline. So at this overbust dart, I came in by ½ inch and I extended it like so. Although it came out beautifully well, but you just have to deliver the exact thing that was asked for. So I would advise that if you want exactly the one in this image, extend it to the end of that circle, but it should not get into the end. Like you can leave like maybe 1 inch for the extension. Now I'll divide my bust by 4 and I will input it on my bust line. I'll divide my waist by 4. The waist and the under bust are the same measurement, so I marked it on the under bust and the waistline. And also the dart that was taken, you have to return it to avoid shortage. then you connect it into the bust point. At the hip area, I divided it by 4 and I imputed it, but because that hip needed to be a bit wide, I added extra 1 inch to the hip. That's the reason why you saw that extra 1 inch, and I connected everything like so. So the same thing on the hip was just what I connected straight down into the gown measurement, and with that our front pattern is ready. So for the last thing, which is the side ruffle design, we are going to be marking from the center front. You mark in 1.75 inches. I made use of 1.75 inches, but I would have actually preferred to mark 1.5 inch. Then from the hip area, I came down by 2 inch, and at that point I also marked my 1.75 inch again. Then now from this waist area, I just use my free hand to mark that curvy design around the that's extended from the hip to the waist. So when I felt it was okay, like I liked what I marked, and now I lighted it with my curve ruler and my marker, and with that the side front design was made. So that's all for the front pattern. Now we are going to be cutting it, so please watch through the way I cut out the patterns. If you have any question, please ask me. So this is me blending in that and remarking it again to avoid any shortage or gaping around that area. Please ask your questions in the comment section. Do not forget to like this video, share it to your loved ones so they can benefit from it also, and also comment in the comment section if you want me to do any video. You can make your video suggestions also. I'll take note of them. So watch closely the way I am cutting every pattern, and I also took my time to label it so I won't get confused. So label them, your side front, your front yoke, and everything. So here it is when I arranged it. You can see how beautiful it came out. So I'll set this aside so that we can work on our back pattern. So here is the pattern paper for my back pattern, and I've ruled out my starting line and the temporary zipper extension also. I made use of 1.5 inches. So now I will impute my shoulder measurement and the neck width we made use of for the front. I made use of 4 inches for the neck width and my shoulder measurement divided by 2. This is a temporary neck depth, so I made use of 1.5 inches and connected it like so. So divide your bust by 6 and add 1.5 inches to it in case you forgot the armhole length you made use of at the front. So this is me trying to get an accurate armhole length, and I'll connect everything together like so. To get the curve, I'll divide my bust by 4 like so, and I'll connect it. And using my curve ruler, I'll just connect it like this. I have a detailed video that explains on basic bodies for the body. So in case if you are noticing any change, because our front armhole is different from the back, so I will extend the line like so for the armhole length because that's our chest line. And now I will impute my waist measurement, that's the half length from the starting line, and I will rule it out like so. Now I will label everything, my chest line and my waistline. Now from the waistline, I will impute the distance between my waist to my hip. For this video, I made use of 8 inches. Yours can be 9 or 10 respectively. So measure it on your body. Also, the pattern paper is the length of the gown, as I've said earlier. Now I'm going to be contouring my back zipper, and I made use of 1 inch and I took it at the waistline and I connected it as far as my ruler can go around my neckline area. If you do not know the point you should take, just come down by 5 inches or 4 inches from your starting line. Now for the dart intake, I will divide my nipple to nipple measurement by 2. But for my back dart, I always add extra half inch to the dart intake. By the time I finish sewing it, it will just fall on the exact dart I want, and it always sits well on the back, and it helps the back to be very smooth and beautiful. So I will impute it from that point. But if I want to impute this on the chest line and on the hip line, I have to remeasure it from the original starting line so that it will make my dart line to be straight. So just watch closely what I'm doing. It is not hard at all, and remember to practice also. Now for my dart intake, I made use of 1 inch and I'll share it on both sides of the dart line, and with that I'll connect it into the chest line like so, and I'll also connect it into the hip line like so. To get the point where my yoke will start from, I'll bring my side front and mark it. That way it will help the yoke to align well with the front yoke. Everything will blend well. like so. So I forgot to extend my dart line from this chest line. I later did that sha. So now for the neckline, you just connect it from your neck width into the new yoke line, like so, to form the V neck line for the back. So we are going to be contouring our back yoke, and you just slash any line from the neck line into your armhole line like this. And for the dart intake, I made use of 1 inch. This will help you to have a well relaxed yoke, because most times veil net or chantilly net or anything you are making use of your yoke tend to gape at the back, and when you bend down it will be giving it this kind of opening. But when you contour it like this and you remove the gaping, it will sit well on the bodies. If you've watched the video of this cloth, you will notice it sit well on my client's body. So I'll close the dart and I'll reblend to avoid shortage of any short. So you try to use your masking tape to close the dart, and after you've closed the dart, you bring in your ruler to reconnect the line in case if any part of the neckline have shifted, like so. So now from this our new zipper line, you divide your bust by 4 and you impute it. From the new zipper line also at the waist area, you divide your waist by 4, return the dart intake that you took, and you connect everything like so. Even if the line is giving you a funny shape, it doesn't matter. By the time you finish sewing the clothes, everything will be back to shape. I also divided my hip by 4, but I added extra 1 inch to the hip measurement, and I connected everything like so. Then I extended the hip line into the length of my gown like so. So now for the side design of the back, I'll bring in my front pattern that I used earlier because I want it to be accurate and the same. So after I've brought it, I'll just trace it out like this. As you can see, just bring in your side front pattern and you place it on your back pattern, then you trace everything out like so. So this way it will help you to achieve an accurate line. And after that, our pattern is ready. All you just need to do is to cut everything out like so. So I extended the line of the chest line like so. I extended this to the yoke, and after that I cut everything out. Do not forget to label your patterns also. I label that part because we are going to be adding extra sewing allowance for the zipper later. So after that, I'll cut out my patterns and I'm going to label them respectively. If you have any question, ask me in the comment section. I'll definitely answer you. So here is my side pattern. So for this gather design, we are going to be sellotaping it together. We are going to be joining it together because we are going to be doing a slash and spread method. You can slash and spread it on another pattern paper to check the fullness, or you can do that on your fabric. So we are going to be slashing and spreading it. So I labeled it the side front and the side back, and this is just me trying to create lines that I'll be slashing and spreading. I did not have any specific line measurement. I just made use of my ruler to rule everything out, and I labeled them respectively also. Although when you are slashing and spreading this pattern, your fabric or the pattern you are spreading it on will be on fold. So I later made use of just one of it because it is going to be on fold. But this is just me explaining to you so that you can see the result. Now we are going to be drafting our sleeve. So here is the pattern paper that I'll be using to draft my sleeve, and I will rule out my starting lines and I'll also label it also. And after that, I'm going to be imputing my vertical measurement, which is the elbow, the point from where my shoulder to my elbow, shoulder to the sleeve length, and from that sleeve length I will extend it with extra 6 or 7 inches. I never knew the sleeve in the video was very long. I actually extended mine with 3 inches here, but I later corrected it because the sleeve covered the whole of the hand and the fingers. So this is me labeling the shoulder to the elbow, the shoulder to the wrist, like your wrist at the sleeve area, and the extension also. Now you divide your bust by 6 and add 1.5 inches and you will impute it at this point. Then for you to know the point where your sleeve curve will start from, you can make use of 4 inches. I used 4.5 inches here. 4 inches, 4.5 inches is standard. If you are working with someone with a bigger arm, do 5 inches. So I've also ruled that point also. It is called cap height. Then from that point that I came down, I'll just connect it straight into this upper part of the sleeve as shown in the video. Now to get the curves around the sleeve, I'll divide that line, I'll divide everything by 2. Then I'll mark it. So I'll pick the first part and I'll divide it by 2 again. and I'll mark that point. So from that new point, I'll come up by ½ inch, and using my curve ruler, look at the way I placed my curve. Just look at the way I placed my curve. I'll place it like so, and I'll connect it into the center line like so. Now from this second half, I'll divide it by 2. Then I'll mark the point. Then I'll come down by ½ inch, and using my curve ruler, look at the way I placed it again. I'll connect it like so. Now I'll divide my round elbow. I'll divide it into 2. That area is called bicep, so you divide it into 2, and you can use the bicep area or your round elbow, and you impute it. I'll also divide my round wrist by 2 and impute it. Then I'll connect everything together like so. So after connect, I'll just extend this to the length. You are going to be doing a slash and spread method around this wrist area, but let us first cut out our sleeve. Like, this is a basic sleeve. Aside from the fact that we extended the length, we made it a bit longer, so this is a basic sleeve already. So I'll cut everything out like so. Now I'll place my sleeve on another pattern, because we are going to be slashing and spreading this area. So I stopped mine at this wrist line, but I will advise that you come up a bit by maybe 1 inch, because there's this kind of flare around the sleeve on that on the video, like the original video. So now this is me placing it on my fabric, because I'll be slashing it and spreading it. So had it been this one was very long, it would have given it a fuller result, but I now later had to convert it to a round flare sleeve, because it was not giving me what I wanted, and that was because I did not check the video, because it's one phone I'm using, so I did not reconfirm. Please, I hope you understand my explanation. So pin your pattern very well on your fabric. So this part I told you to extend, you will spread it very well. It might not get to the center, you might not be able to spread the center well, but you will spread it. You will open all this other paper very well. You open it very well, that it will look like a flare, but it will be like an A-line flare. I hope you understand my explanation. After you spread it very well to as much as the paper can go, you can even tear it up a little so that it can spread. Then you will now pin it and you will cut it out. So that way, to be giving it this illusion of flare sleeve, but in a fuller way. I hope you understand me. And now you cut it out. Also add your sewing allowance. Although this is a net, and naturally net tends to stretch, but I'll still advise you add your sewing allowance. If it's too much, you can always trim it off later. At least that's where you'll be on a safe side. So here is my pattern. Here are everything. I've transferred them to the fabric. So in my next video, I will explain more, because this is just a cutting video. Watch out for the sewing video. Bye.